The fluorescent lights above the diner buzzed with that persistent, maddening hum that had become the soundtrack to my exhaustion. I could feel it in my bones, the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix, the kind that settled into your marrow after too many double shifts and too many bills left unpaid on the kitchen counter. My feet ached in the cheap sneakers I'd bought at the discount store 3 months ago, the soles already wearing thin against the perpetual dampness of the kitchen floors. "Table 7 needs a refill, sweetheart." Marge's voice cut through my fog, cigarette rough and impatient. I nodded, grabbing the coffee pot with hands that had long since stopped registering the heat of the glass. The diner smelled like it always did: burnt coffee, frying bacon, and something vaguely antiseptic that never quite masked the underlying scent of grease that had seeped into every corner over decades. The black and white checkered floor was scuffed and cracked, and the red vinyl booths had splits that we'd covered with duct tape that never quite matched. This was my life. This corner diner in a neighborhood that decent people drove through with their doors locked. I was 23 and invisible. Just another face behind a stained apron, another body moving through the motions of survival. I made my way to table 7, the coffee pot heavy in my grip. When the bell above the door chimed, I didn't look up immediately. Why would I? It was just another customer, another order, another $1 tip if I was lucky. But the diner went quiet. Not completely. The kitchen still hissed and clanged. The old jukebox still crooned some forgotten 50s love song. But there was a shift in the air, a collective held breath that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I looked up then, and that's when I saw him. He stood in the doorway like he owned not just the diner, but the entire block. Maybe the entire city. The late afternoon sun slanted through the grimy windows behind him, casting him in a halo of gold that seemed absurdly out of place in our dingy establishment. He wore a suit, not the kind you buy off a rack, but the kind that costs more than I made in 6 months. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, with a crisp white shirt open at the collar, no tie. Even in the casual gesture, there was something deliberately dangerous about it. But it was his face that stopped me cold. Sharp jawline, dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, and eyes. God, those eyes. So dark they were almost black, scanning the room with the kind of awareness that said he was cataloging exits, threats, weaknesses. He wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him, broader, harder, their hands resting at their sides in a way that suggested they were ready to reach for something at a moment's notice. He moved through the diner like a predator in a chicken coop, and I realized I was staring. Heat flooded my cheeks, and I looked down, focusing on the coffee pot in my hands, the way the dark liquid sloshed against the sides. "Emma." Marge's voice was tight, warning. "Go take their order." My head snapped up. "What?" "Table 3, go." Table 3 was where he'd settled, sliding into the booth with a grace that seemed impossible for someone so clearly dangerous. His men remained standing, positioned near the door and the back exit. Not sitting, not relaxing, watching. My hands trembled as I set down the coffee pot and grabbed my order pad. I could feel every eye in the diner on me as I approached, my sneakers squeaking against the floor. Up close, he was even more devastating. There was a scent surrounding him, expensive cologne, something woody and dark with an underlying hint of smoke. It wrapped around me like an invisible hand. "What can I get you?" My voice came out smaller than I intended, barely above a whisper. He didn't look at the menu. Instead, those impossibly dark eyes fixed on me, studying my face with an intensity that made me want to shrink back. There was something almost surgical about his gaze, like he was dissecting me, cataloging every detail. "Coffee. Black." His voice was low, smooth as aged whiskey, with an accent I couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe. Or something more Mediterranean. I nodded, turning to leave, grateful for the escape. "Wait." I froze. Turned back slowly. He was still watching me, his head tilted slightly, and I noticed for the first time a thin scar running along his jaw, barely visible but there, a mark of violence in an otherwise perfect face. "What's your name?" "Emma." It came out automatically, before I could think about whether I should tell him. Something flickered in his expression. Satisfaction, maybe, or recognition. "Emma," he repeated, like he was tasting my name. Pretty name for a pretty girl working in a place like this, I didn't know what to say to that. I'd been called pretty before, usually by drunk customers whose compliments came with wandering hands. But the way he said it felt different. Not leering, but assessing. Like he was stating a fact that displeased him for reasons I couldn't understand. "I'll get your coffee," I managed, backing away. In the kitchen, I leaned against the counter, my heart hammering against my ribs. Marge appeared beside me, her lined face tight with something that looked like fear. "You know who that is?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the sizzle of the griddle. I shook my head. "That's Dante Moretti." She said the name like it should mean something, like it should make me understand the sudden tension in the room. When I continued to stare at her blankly, she grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. "He owns half this city, Emma, the bad half. The half the cops pretend doesn't exist because they're too scared or too bought to do anything about it." My mouth went dry. "He's Mafia, crime lord, whatever you want to call it. He doesn't come to places like this, ever. He has people for that." Her eyes darted toward the door, toward the two men still standing guard. "So, the fact that he's here means something. Something probably bad." I poured the coffee with shaking hands, watching the dark liquid splash into the white ceramic mug. My reflection stared back at me from the surface. Pale face, dark circles under green eyes, blonde hair scraped back into a messy ponytail. Nothing special. Nothing that would interest a man like Dante Moretti. When I brought the coffee back to his table, he was on his phone, speaking in rapid Italian. I caught fragments, words I didn't understand, but that sounded like orders, like commands that would be obeyed without question. He ended the call as I approached, sliding the phone into his jacket pocket with a smooth gesture. "Thank you, Emma." He wrapped his hands around the mug but didn't drink, just watched me over the rim. "How long have you worked here?" It felt like a trap, like every word could be the wrong one. 2 years. 2 years. He seemed to consider this. And before that? Different restaurant. Different part of town. I shifted my weight, uncomfortable under his scrutiny. "Is there anything else I can get you?" "Sit down." What? "Sit down," he repeated, gesturing to the seat across from him. It wasn't a request. "I can't. I'm working." One of his men moved closer, and Dante raised a hand slightly, a gesture so small it was almost imperceptible. But the man stopped immediately. The display of power was subtle, but unmistakable. "I'm asking nicely, Emma." His voice remained pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "Sit. Down." My legs moved before my brain could catch up, sliding into the booth across from him. The vinyl was cracked beneath me, the stuffing poking through in places. He looked so out of place in this shabby diner, like a diamond in a pile of broken glass. "Do you know why I'm here?" he asked. "No." My voice was barely a whisper. He smiled then, and it transformed his face, not making him look kinder, but somehow more dangerous, like a wolf baring its teeth. "I like honest women, so I'll be honest with you. I come here sometimes. Not inside. My men usually handle it, but I've seen you through the window." My blood ran cold. He'd been watching me. For how long? "You're different from the others," he continued, his fingers drumming a slow rhythm on the table. "You move like someone who's given up but keeps going anyway. You have shadows under your eyes that tell me you work too hard for too little. And you have a kindness in your face that this neighborhood hasn't beaten out of you yet. That interests me. I don't understand, and I didn't. This felt surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. You don't need to understand, not yet." He leaned forward, and I caught another wave of that intoxicating scent, smoke and cedar and something darker. "But I want you to know something, Emma. From this moment forward, you're under my protection. No one touches you. No one threatens you. You're mine to protect." The possessiveness in that last statement should have terrified me. Instead, something warm and dangerous unfurled in my chest. Something that felt uncomfortably like relief. Like for the first time in years, someone saw me. Really saw me. "I don't need protection," I said. But even to my own ears it sounded weak. His smile widened. "Everyone needs protection, Piccola. Some just don't know it yet." The bell above the door chimed again, and I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate. Dante's expression didn't change. but something shifted in his posture, a tension coiling through his body. His men moved, positioning themselves, and I realized with creeping horror that something was wrong. I turned to look at the door, and my breath caught. 3 men stood there, and unlike Dante's controlled, refined danger, theirs was raw and obvious. One had a badly concealed gun bulging under his jacket. Another had the kind of face you saw in nightmares, scarred and cruel, with eyes that held no warmth, no humanity. "Well, well," the scarred one said, his voice like gravel. "Dante Moretti. Sitting in a dump like this. How the mighty have fallen." Dante took a sip of his coffee, completely calm. "Georgie, I'd say it's a pleasure, but we both know I'd be lying. We have business to discuss." Georgie's eyes slid to me, and I felt stripped bare under his gaze. "Private business. Then you should have called my office, made an appointment." Dante set down his mug with deliberate care. "I don't conduct business in public. You know this." "Oh, I think you'll make an exception." Georgie moved closer, and I could smell him now. Sweat and something chemical, something that made my stomach turn, especially when it concerns your recent acquisitions in our territory. I didn't understand what they were talking about, but I understood danger. I understood that the temperature in the room had dropped about 20 degrees, and that everyone except Dante looked ready to draw weapons. "Emma," Dante said softly, not looking at me, "I need you to go to the kitchen, now." But I couldn't move. Fear had locked my muscles, turned my legs to stone. "Actually," Georgie said, and his smile was a terrible thing, "I think the pretty waitress should stay. Give us some insurance that this conversation stays civil." That's when I made my mistake. That's when I opened my mouth and tried to be brave. Tried to be something other than invisible for the first time in my life. "Pretend it's a joke," I said, my voice shaking but loud enough to carry. I'd meant it as a deflection, something to break the tension, to make this less real. Sniper on the roof or something. This is just some movie scene, right? Everyone's playing pretend. The words died in my throat when I saw Georgie's expression change. When I saw the way Dante's jaw tightened, the way his men's hands moved toward their weapons. And then I heard it, the sound that would haunt my nightmares for years to come. A sharp crack from somewhere outside, followed by the explosion of glass as the diner's front window shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. Someone screamed. Maybe it was me. Dante moved faster than I thought possible, lunging across the table and pulling me down as another shot rang out, this one embedding itself in the wall where my head had been seconds before. I was on the floor, pressed against the cracked tiles, and Dante was above me, his body covering mine completely, his weight solid and real, and the only thing between me and whatever hell had just broken loose in the diner. "Don't move," he breathed against my ear, his voice still impossibly calm. "Don't make a sound," but I was shaking, trembling so hard I thought I might fall apart. And all I could think was that I'd done this. I'd said the words, "sniper on the roof," and somehow, impossibly, I'd made it real. The world had narrowed to the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears and the weight of Dante Moretti's body shielding mine. I could feel every place where we touched, his chest against my back, his arm wrapped around my waist, his breath hot against my neck. The floor was cold and gritty beneath my cheek, and somewhere in the chaos, I'd bitten my lip hard enough to taste copper. Gunfire erupted, not from outside now, but from inside the diner. Dante's men had drawn their weapons, returning fire toward the shattered window. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Each shot like a physical blow. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to make myself smaller, trying to disappear. "Stay down," Dante commanded, his voice cutting through the noise. Then he was moving, rolling off me with fluid grace, his own weapon, a sleek black handgun I hadn't even seen him draw, now in his hand. I watched in frozen horror as he moved to a crouch, his body positioned between me and the window. He fired twice, precise shots that shattered what remained of the glass, and then there was silence, a terrible, ringing silence that was somehow worse than the gunfire. "Clear," one of his men called out. "Georgie?" Dante asked, his voice cold. "Gone, out the back the second the shooting started." Dante swore in Italian, a string of words that needed no translation. Then he was beside me again, holstering his weapon and pulling me up with surprising gentleness. His hands cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. "Are you hurt? Look at me, Emma. Are you hurt?" I shook my head, unable to form words. My entire body was shaking, adrenaline flooding my system in waves that made me feel disconnected from reality. "Check her," he ordered one of his men, then louder. "Everyone else okay?" Marge emerged from behind the counter where she'd taken cover, her face pale as milk. A couple of customers huddled in the corner booth, their eyes wide with terror. The cook peered out from the kitchen, a frying pan still clutched in his meaty fist like a weapon. Dante's man, tall with kind eyes that seemed wrong in his hard face, examined me quickly, professionally. "She's fine, boss. No hits. Just shock." But Dante wasn't looking at his man. He was looking at me, and there was something in his expression I couldn't read. Fury and something else. Something that looked almost like fear. "What you said," he began, his voice low and dangerous. "About the sniper. How did you know?" "I didn't—" My voice cracked. I was trying to make a joke, to break the tension. I didn't know there was actually— The words dissolved into a sob I couldn't hold back. His expression shifted, understanding flooding his features. "Merda. You didn't know. You couldn't have known." But I saw the calculation in his eyes. The way he was reassessing me, trying to determine if I was a threat or a victim or something else entirely. His phone rang, the sound jarring in the aftermath of violence. He answered it without taking his eyes off me. "What?" A pause. "When? How many?" "Understood. I'm bringing someone with me. Prepare the East Wing." He ended the call and slipped the phone back into his jacket, which I now noticed had a tear in the shoulder, a near miss that had come within inches of his flesh. "You're coming with me," he said. It wasn't a question. "What?" "No, I can't. I have to work. I have to—" "Emma." His hands were still on my arms, steadying me. "Georgie came here for a reason. He knew I was here. Which means someone told him. Someone's been watching me, which means they've been watching everyone I interact with. You spoke to me. You sat with me. That makes you a target." The weight of those words settled over me like a suffocating blanket. "But I didn't do anything. I'm nobody." "You were nobody," he corrected, something dark and possessive flickering in his eyes. "Not anymore. Marcello, get the car. Tony, clean this up. Make it disappear." "Wait." I tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. Not painful, but immovable. "I can't just leave. I have an apartment. I have—" "What do you have, Emma?" His voice was gentle now, almost pitying. "A one-room apartment with bars on the windows? A landlord who doesn't fix the heat? Roommates who steal your food? Tell me I'm wrong." I couldn't. Because he wasn't wrong. He'd somehow known, somehow seen into the pathetic reality of my life with a few glances. "My brother," I whispered. "I have a brother. He's in juvenile detention for another 3 months. I send him money. I visit him every week. I can't just—" Something shifted in Dante's expression. "What's his name?" Tyler Brooks. He's 16. He made a mistake. Got caught with the wrong people. I know who he is." Dante's jaw tightened. He was picked up in one of Georgie's territory sweeps. "Petty theft, right?" I nodded, tears burning my eyes. "If you come with me, I'll have him transferred to a better facility, minimum security, better food, better education programs. And when he gets out, I'll make sure he has opportunities that don't involve ending up dead or back in prison." It felt like a deal with the devil, and maybe it was. But what choice did I have? Stay here, become a target for men like Georgie, put Tyler at risk, or go with Dante? Accept his protection, and maybe, just maybe, give my brother a chance at a real life. "Okay," I whispered. His smile was triumphant, possessive. "Good girl." The car was exactly what I'd expected. A black SUV with tinted windows so dark I couldn't see inside until Marcello opened the door. The interior smelled like leather and that same woody cologne Dante wore. He guided me into the back seat with a hand on the small of my back, then slid in beside me. Marcello took the driver's seat, and Tony, the one with kind eyes, sat in the passenger seat, twisted around to watch the road behind us. We pulled away from the diner, and I watched through the window as my old life receded into the distance. Police sirens wailed in the air, growing closer, but we turned down a side street, moving away from the chaos with practiced ease. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere safe." Dante was texting on his phone, his fingers moving with rapid precision. "My home." Home. The word felt foreign on my tongue. I hadn't had a home since my parents died 3 years ago, just a series of cheap apartments and cheaper rooms, places to sleep, but never to live. We drove for almost an hour, leaving the industrial decay of my neighborhood behind and climbing into the hills, where the city gave way to estates hidden behind high walls and iron gates. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that seemed too beautiful for a day that had included gunfire and blood. Finally, we turned onto a private road, approaching gates that swung open automatically as we approached. Beyond them stretched a driveway lined with ancient oak trees, their branches forming a canopy overhead, and at the end of that driveway stood a house. No, a mansion, that took my breath away. It was modern and classical at once, all clean lines and warm stone, with huge windows that glowed with golden light. Manicured gardens stretched on either side, and I could see the glimmer of a pool in the back, illuminated from below. "This is where you live?" The words came out smaller than I intended. "One of the places." Dante helped me from the car, his hand warm and steady on mine. "I have others, but this is the safest, the most secure." As if to prove his point, I noticed the cameras positioned discreetly along the roofline, the subtle presence of armed men patrolling the grounds. This wasn't just a home, it was a fortress. Inside, the house was even more stunning. All marble floors and soaring ceilings, with art on the walls that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. A woman appeared from somewhere in the depths of the house, older, with steel-gray hair pulled back in an elegant bun and kind eyes that assessed me quickly. "Mrs. Chen, this is Emma," Dante said. "She'll be staying in the East Wing. She needs clothes, toiletries, whatever she requires. See to it." "Of course, Mr. Moretti." Mrs. Chen's voice was warm, accented with something Asian. Chinese, maybe, or Korean. She smiled at me. "Come, dear. Let's get you settled." I followed her up a sweeping staircase, acutely aware of my dirty uniform and scuffed sneakers on the pristine floors. She led me down a hallway lined with closed doors, finally stopping at one near the end. "This will be your room," she said, opening the door to reveal a space larger than my entire apartment. A king-sized bed dominated the center, covered in white linens that looked impossibly soft. French doors opened onto a balcony overlooking the gardens. A sitting area with plush chairs occupied one corner, and I could see an ensuite bathroom through another doorway. "I don't understand," I said. "Why would he give me all this?" Mrs. Chen's expression was knowing, almost sad. Mr. Moretti is a complicated man, but when he decides someone is under his protection, he takes it very seriously. "You're safe here, Miss Emma. Whatever happens, you're safe." But I didn't feel safe. I felt like I'd stepped into a gilded cage. Beautiful and comfortable, but a cage nonetheless. I stood under the shower for what felt like hours, letting water so hot it bordered on painful wash away the grime and fear of the day. The bathroom was larger than my old bedroom, all marble and gold fixtures, with towels so soft they felt like clouds. Someone, Mrs. Chen, presumably, had laid out clothes on the bed while I'd been in the shower. Designer jeans that fit perfectly, a soft cashmere sweater in deep green, and undergarments that still had tags attached. I dressed slowly, catching sight of myself in the full-length mirror. I looked different somehow. Cleaner, yes, but also more substantial, like I was finally coming into focus after years of being a ghost. A knock on the door made me jump. "Come in?" Dante entered, and I realized it was the first time I'd seen him since we'd arrived. He'd changed too. Gone was the torn suit, replaced by dark slacks and a black button-down with the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and marked with what looked like old scars. His hair was damp, like he'd showered too, and without the armor of his formal suit, he looked almost human. Almost. "How are you feeling?" he asked. Confused. Scared. Like I'm in someone else's life. He moved further into the room, his presence filling the space in a way that made it feel suddenly smaller. You are in someone else's life now. Your old life. It's done. You can't go back to that diner, that apartment. Georgie knows your face now, and men like him, they don't forget. So what am I supposed to do? Just live here? Become your... what? Your prisoner? My guest. But there was steel in his voice, under my protection. Why? I demanded, surprising myself with the force of it. Why me? You don't know me. I'm nothing to you. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides, and suddenly he was inches away, his eyes burning into mine. You think I don't know you? I've watched you for 3 months, Emma. I know you give half your tips to the homeless man who sleeps in the alley behind the diner. I know you work doubles every Tuesday and Thursday so you can visit your brother on Wednesdays. I know you haven't bought yourself new shoes in 6 months because every extra dollar goes into his commissary account. My breath caught. You've been stalking me? I've been protecting you. His hand came up, cupping my cheek with a gentleness that contradicted the intensity in his eyes. From the moment I first saw you, something in me recognized something in you. You're good in a world that tries to destroy good things. You're strong even though life has tried to break you. And you're mine, Piccola. You just didn't know it yet. The possessiveness should have terrified me. Should have sent me running, but instead, I felt something warm and dangerous unfurl in my chest. A hunger I'd never acknowledged, a need to be seen, to be claimed, to matter to someone. I don't understand any of this, I whispered. You don't need to. Not yet. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I found myself leaning into the touch despite every instinct screaming that this was dangerous, that he was dangerous. But you will. And when you do, you'll understand why I can never let you go. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glancing at the screen, and his expression darkened. What is it? I asked. Georgie's made his move. He's taken 3 of my warehouses in the South District. He's declaring war. Because of today? Because of me? No, Piccola. Today was just the excuse. This has been coming for months. He typed something quickly, then pocketed the phone. But you were right about one thing. There was a sniper on the roof. We found his position after you left. He wasn't very good, thank God, but the fact that Georgie had the balls to try something so public means he's more desperate than I thought. So what happens now? His smile was cold, predatory. Now? Now I remind everyone in this city why they fear the Moretti name. And you, Emma? You stay here where you're safe, where I know exactly where you are. He moved toward the door, and panic seized me. Wait, you're leaving? You're just going to leave me here? He paused, looking back, and something in his expression softened. I have to handle this, but I'll be back. And Emma, don't try to leave. For your own safety, don't try to leave. Then he was gone, and I was alone in my beautiful cage, wondering how my life had changed so completely in the span of a single day. I moved to the French doors, stepping out onto the balcony. The night air was cool against my skin, carrying the scent of jasmine from the gardens below. In the distance, I could see the city lights spreading out like a blanket of stars, and somewhere in those lights was the diner. My apartment. My old life. A life I could never return to. I wrapped my arms around myself, feeling the softness of the cashmere against my skin, and wondered if I'd just made a deal that would save me or damn me, or perhaps both. The first 3 days passed in a strange, dreamlike haze. I woke each morning in sheets softer than anything I'd ever known, ate meals prepared by a chef whose food belonged in magazines, and wandered the vast halls of Dante's mansion like a ghost haunting someone else's castle. Mrs. Chen was my constant companion, kind but watchful, always there with a gentle smile and an excuse whenever I approached a door that led outside. I wasn't a prisoner, they said. But I wasn't free either. Dante returned on the 4th night. I was in the library, a room that had quickly become my sanctuary, with floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books in multiple languages, when I heard voices in the foyer below. Male voices, tense and urgent, speaking rapid Italian that I couldn't follow. Then footsteps on the stairs, purposeful and quick. The library door opened without a knock, and there he was. He looked exhausted. I realized with a jolt. His suit was rumpled, his tie gone, and there was a hardness around his eyes that hadn't been there before. But when those dark eyes found me curled up in the leather armchair by the window, something in his expression softened. "You're still awake," he said, closing the door behind him. I couldn't sleep. I set down the book I'd been pretending to read, some thriller about espionage that felt too close to my current reality. "How did it go? With Georgie?" He moved to the bar cart in the corner, pouring himself 2 fingers of amber liquid from a crystal decanter. "It's handled." "What does that mean?" He downed the drink in one swallow, then poured another. "It means Georgie won't be a problem anymore. It means 3 of his lieutenants have decided to pledge their loyalty to me instead. It means the warehouses he took have been reclaimed, and the message has been sent. You don't touch what's mine." The possessiveness in his voice made something tighten in my chest. "Is that what I am? Something you own?" He crossed the room to stand before me, and I had to crane my neck to look up at him. "You're under my protection. That makes you mine in every way that matters." "I'm not a possession," I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "I'm a person. A person who had a life before you decided to upend everything." "A life?" His laugh was bitter. "You call that living, Emma? Working yourself to exhaustion for pennies, eating ramen because you can't afford real food, walking through dangerous streets at night because you can't afford a car? That's not living. That's surviving. Barely." "At least it was mine," I shot back, rising from the chair to face him. We were inches apart now, and I could smell the whiskey on his breath, the smoke and cedar cologne that had become familiar. At least I had choices. Now I'm trapped in this beautiful prison, and everyone keeps telling me it's for my own good. But nobody asks what I want. "And what do you want?" His voice dropped to something low and dangerous. "You want to go back to that diner? Back to dodging handsy customers and living in fear that you won't make rent? Back to watching your brother waste away in a cell while you kill yourself trying to save him? That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Piccola." He set down his glass with a sharp click. "Life is brutal and cruel, and it chews up good people like you and spits them out. I'm giving you something better: safety, comfort, a future for your brother. All I ask in return is that you stay where I can protect you. But for how long?" The question hung between us like smoke. "How long do I stay here? A week? A month? Forever?" Something flickered in his eyes, something that looked almost like guilt. "Until it's safe." "And when will that be? When Georgie's dead? When all your enemies are dead? Men like you always have enemies, Dante. I'm not stupid. I know what you are, what you do. This war you're fighting, it won't end. There will always be another Georgie. Another threat, which means I'll never be free of this place. Of you." The words seemed to hit him like physical blows. His jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath the skin. "You're right," he said finally, his voice rough. "Men like me always have enemies. The life I live, it's violent and dangerous, and there's no such thing as permanent peace. But that's exactly why I need you here, because out there you're vulnerable. Here, you're safe." "Safe and suffocating," I whispered. He reached out, his hand cupping my face with that same unexpected gentleness. "Is it really so terrible? This house, these comforts? Mrs. Chen tells me you've been reading, spending time in the gardens, that you seem content." "Content isn't happy," I said. "Content is just existing. And I've been existing my whole life, Dante. I thought maybe, for once, I could actually live." His thumb traced my lower lip, and I felt my breath hitch. "Then live here, with me. Let me give you everything you've never had." "That's not living, that's being kept. And if I asked you to stay, not as a prisoner, but as—" He seemed to struggle with the words, something flickering in his expression that looked almost vulnerable, as someone important to me. Would that change things? My heart hammered against my ribs. "I don't understand. You don't even know me." "I know enough." His other hand came up, cradling my face between his palms. "I know you're brave even when you're terrified. I know you put everyone else before yourself. I know that when bullets were flying, You didn't scream or panic. You tried to protect others with a stupid joke about snipers. I know that in a world full of people who would sell their souls for power, you've somehow kept yours intact. That doesn't make me special, I said, but my voice was shaking now. It makes you rare, and rare things are worth protecting, worth keeping close. His face was so near now, I could count the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could feel the warmth of his breath on my lips. Stay, Emma, not because you have to, because you want to. I don't know what I want, I admitted. Everything's happened so fast. 4 days ago I was pouring coffee and worrying about tips. Now I'm standing in a mansion with a man who terrifies and fascinates me in equal measure, and I can't tell if what I'm feeling is real or just Stockholm Syndrome. He smiled at that. A real smile, not the predatory one I'd seen before. Stockholm Syndrome requires time and isolation. You've had neither. What you're feeling, Piccola, is attraction. Dangerous, ill-advised, completely inappropriate attraction. But real nonetheless. You're very sure of yourself, I said, trying to inject some tartness into my voice and failing. I'm sure of what I see, the way your pulse jumps when I touch you, the way you lean into my hand even as you argue with me, the way you're looking at my mouth right now like you're wondering what it would be like if I kissed you. Heat flooded my cheeks. I'm not. You are. His voice was rough velvet now, dark and tempting. And the truth is, Emma, I've been wondering the same thing since the moment I saw you, since before that, even. Every night I watched you through that diner window. I imagined what it would be like to touch you, to taste you, to make you mine in every possible way. I struggled for words. That's insane. You're describing obsession. Yes, he agreed simply. I am, and I won't apologize for it. When a man like me wants something, he takes it. But you're not a thing, Piccola. You're a person with choices, so I'm giving you one now. Tell me to leave, and I will. Tell me you want nothing to do with me, and I'll give you space while still keeping you safe. Or? The word came out barely a whisper. Or admit what we both know is true. That whatever this is between us, this pull, this connection, it's real, and it's worth exploring. Every rational part of my brain screamed that this was wrong, that falling for a man like Dante Moretti was a path to destruction. He was a criminal, a killer, a man who lived in a world of violence and blood. Getting involved with him would be the worst mistake of my life, but I'd spent my entire life being rational, being careful, playing it safe. And where had it gotten me? Alone, exhausted, invisible. For once I wanted to be reckless, to be seen, to be wanted. Kiss me, I said before I could change my mind. The words had barely left my lips when his mouth claimed mine. It wasn't gentle. Nothing about Dante was gentle, but it wasn't brutal either. It was consuming, possessive, a claiming that sent heat spiraling through my body. His hands slid into my hair, angling my head to deepen the kiss, and I heard myself make a sound that was half gasp, half moan. He tasted like whiskey in danger, and I couldn't get enough. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His eyes had gone almost black with desire, and there was a roughness to his voice when he spoke. Mine. You're mine now, Emma. Say it. The possessiveness should have scared me. Instead, it sent another wave of heat through my body. This is crazy. Say it. His lips traced down my jaw, my neck, finding the hollow of my throat where my pulse hammered. I need to hear you say it. Yours, I breathed. I'm yours. His groan was pure male satisfaction. Good girl. My good, perfect girl. The next morning I woke alone in my bed, my sheets tangled, my body humming with remembered sensation, and my mind reeling from what had happened. We hadn't gone further than kissing, than his hands mapping my body through my clothes, while mine clutched at his shoulders, but it had been enough to change everything. I found him in his office, a room I hadn't been allowed to enter before. He looked up from his desk when I knocked, and the smile that curved his lips was possessive and intimate in a way that made my stomach flip. Come in, Piccola. Close the door. I did, my eyes taking in the masculine space. All dark wood and leather, with windows overlooking the grounds. Maps covered one wall, marked with colored pins that I suspected represented territory, assets, things I was better off not knowing about. "I have news about your brother," he said, gesturing for me to sit in the chair across from his desk. When I did, he slid a folder across to me. "Tyler's transfer has been approved. He'll be moved to Brookside Youth Facility by the end of the week. It's minimum security, focused on education and rehabilitation rather than punishment. He'll have his own room, access to computers for online classes, and regular visits with a counselor who actually gives a damn." My hand shook as I opened the folder, seeing the official paperwork, my brother's photo, thinner than I remembered, but smiling. "How did you do this so fast?" "I have connections. And when I want something done, it gets done." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "There's more. I've set up an account for him. When he's released, he'll have access to funds for college or vocational training, whatever he wants to pursue. And I've arranged for him to have a job, legitimate, legal work, with one of my construction companies if he's interested." Tears burned my eyes. "Why would you do this?" "Because you love him. Because he's important to you, which makes him important to me." He rose, moving around the desk to crouch before me, taking my hands in his. "I take care of what's mine, Emma, and you're mine now, which means he's under my protection too." "I don't know how to thank you," I whispered. "You already have." His lips brushed my knuckles. "By staying. By accepting what this is between us. That's all I need." A knock on the door interrupted us. Dante's expression hardened as Marcello entered, his face grave. "Boss, we have a problem. It's about the girl." My stomach dropped. "What problem?" Marcello's eyes flicked to me, then back to Dante. "Her apartment was hit last night. Someone was looking for her. Tore the place apart." "Georgie," Dante said, his voice flat. "That's what we thought. But boss..." Marcello shifted uncomfortably. "We found something. Documentation. Letters. It looks like she's not who she says she is." The world seemed to tilt. "What are you talking about?" Dante's eyes were on me now, hard, and assessing in a way that made my blood run cold. "Emma, is there something you need to tell me? About who you really are?" "I don't know what he's talking about," I said, panic rising in my chest. "I've told you everything. Her real name isn't Emma Brooks," Marcello said, pulling out a folder. "It's Emma Castellano, and her father..." He paused, looking at Dante with something like pity. "Her father was Marco Castellano, your former associate, the one who betrayed you 5 years ago." The silence that followed was deafening. I stared at Marcello, at the folder in his hands, at Dante's face, as it transformed from warmth to ice. "That's impossible," I whispered. "My father's name was Mark Brooks. He died 3 years ago in a car accident. Marco Castellano entered witness protection after he testified against the Moretti family," Marcello continued relentlessly. "He took his 2 children with him, changed their names. Your brother isn't Tyler Brooks. He's Tyler Castellano. And you, Emma, are the daughter of the man who almost destroyed everything Dante built." The room spun. My father, quiet, kind, always looking over his shoulder, had been in witness protection, had testified against the Mafia, against Dante's family. I looked at Dante, saw the betrayal and rage warring in his expression, and felt my heart shatter. "I didn't know," I said, my voice breaking. "I swear to God, Dante, I didn't know. I thought my father was just paranoid. I thought the name change was because he owed money to the wrong people. I never knew..." "Get out," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "Dante, please, get out." His roar made me flinch. "Get out of my sight before I do something we'll both regret." I ran. Through the halls, up the stairs, into my room where I collapsed on the bed and sobbed until I had nothing left. Outside, I could hear raised voices, the sound of something breaking, and I knew with terrible certainty that everything I'd started to feel, everything I'd started to hope for, was about to be ripped away, because I was the daughter of the man who had betrayed him. And men like Dante Moretti didn't forgive betrayal. Not ever. I don't know how long I stayed curled on that bed, my tears soaking into the expensive pillows that now felt like mockery. Every beautiful thing in this room, the soft sheets, the designer clothes hanging in the closet, the view of manicured gardens, all of it felt tainted now. I was the daughter of a traitor, living in the home of the man my father had tried to destroy. The irony was almost laughable. Almost. When the door opened, I didn't look up. I assumed it was Mrs. Chen, coming to check on me with her gentle concern. But the footsteps were too heavy, too purposeful. Emma. Dante's voice. I sat up slowly, wiping at my face with shaking hands. He stood in the doorway, and the rage I'd seen earlier had been replaced by something colder, more calculating. In his hand, he held a worn leather journal. This was in the files Marcello retrieved from your apartment. He moved into the room, each step measured. It's your father's diary. Did you know he kept one? I shook my head, unable to form words. He opened it, flipping through pages filled with my father's cramped handwriting. He wrote about you, about Tyler, about how guilty he felt for dragging you both into witness protection, for stealing your childhoods. His eyes lifted to mine. He also wrote about why he betrayed my family. I don't want to hear this, I whispered. Too bad. You need to understand. He found a page, his finger tracing the words. Your father didn't just work for my family, Emma. He was my father's accountant, his most trusted financial advisor. And he discovered something. Money being funneled to human trafficking operations. Young girls, some barely teenagers, being bought and sold like property. My stomach turned. No. My father didn't know. Neither did I. It was my uncle, Salvatore, operating behind our backs, using our resources for his own sick enterprise. Dante's voice was rough with old anger. Your father went to the FBI. He gave them everything. Records, names, locations. He destroyed half our organization to stop those operations. The room swam around me. He saved those girls. Yes. Dante closed the journal. He saved them. And in doing so, he nearly got me killed. The FBI raid happened during a family meeting. I was 25 years old, and I watched federal agents storm in with guns drawn. My uncle opened fire. 3 agents died. My father died. And I inherited an empire that was crumbling, with enemies circling like sharks smelling blood. I'm sorry, I said, the words pathetically inadequate. I'm so sorry for what happened to you, for what my father did. Don't. He held up a hand. Don't apologize for him doing the right thing. That's what I've spent the last hour realizing. Your father saw something evil and he stopped it. Consequences be damned. He was a better man than most in my world. I stared at him, hardly daring to believe what I was hearing. Then why are you so angry? Because you're here. He moved closer, sinking onto the bed beside me. Because the universe has a sick sense of humor, putting you in my path, making me want you, making me need you, and now I don't know what the hell to do about it. You could let me go, I said softly. No. The word was immediate, absolute. That's the one thing I can't do. You're in danger, Emma. Real danger. When Marcello's men were investigating your apartment, they found surveillance equipment. Someone's been watching you for weeks. And not just watching. There's evidence they've been tracking Tyler too. Fear shot through me like ice water. Who? We're not sure yet. But whoever it is, they knew your real identity. They knew about your father, which means they either want to use you to get to me or... He paused, his jaw tightening. Or they're connected to my uncle's old operations. The trafficking network your father helped destroy. Some of those people are still out there. Still angry, still looking for revenge. The walls seem to close in. Tyler. Oh God, Tyler is safe. I've already had him moved to a secure location. He doesn't know why yet, but he's protected. As long as you're both under my protection, they can't touch you. But I'm the daughter of the man who... Stop. His hands cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. I don't care whose daughter you are. I don't care about your father's sins or my family's vendetta. All I care about is keeping you safe, keeping you alive, keeping you mine. This is insane, I breathed. Your people will never accept this. I heard Marcello. The way he looked at me when he told you. They hate me. Then they'll learn to live with it. His thumb traced my cheekbone, wiping away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. I'm not my father, Emma. I don't run my organization the same way he did. I cleaned house after your father's testimony, found everyone involved in my uncle's operations and cut them out like cancer. I rebuilt based on different principles. Drugs, gambling, protection, yes. But no human trafficking, no preying on the vulnerable. That's not who I am. You're still a criminal, I pointed out. But there was no heat in it. Yes. But I'm a criminal with a code, and my code says I protect what's mine. You're mine, Piccola. That's not changing because of who your father was. Your people won't see it that way. My people will see what I tell them to see. And what I'm telling them is that Emma Castellano is under my personal protection. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Despite everything, despite the chaos and fear and confusion, I felt something warm unfurl in my chest. He was choosing me, over loyalty to his dead father, over the natural desire for revenge, over everything his world would expect from him. He was choosing me. I don't deserve this, I whispered. Probably not. I definitely don't deserve you. His lips found my forehead, pressing a kiss there that felt like a promise. But we don't always get what we deserve. We get what we fight for, and I'm going to fight for this, Emma, for us. Are you? I thought about my life before, the exhaustion, the invisibility, the endless struggle just to survive. Then I thought about these past few days. The fear, yes, but also the feeling of being seen, of mattering to someone, of having someone willing to move heaven and earth to keep me safe. It was reckless. It was dangerous. It was probably the worst decision I could make. Yes, I said, I'm going to fight for this too. His kiss was different this time. Not possessive and consuming, but tender, almost reverent. Like I was something precious he was afraid to break. When he pulled back, his eyes held a warmth I'd never seen before. Good. Because tomorrow, you're going to meet with Tyler. I'm bringing him here where I can keep you both safe. And then, he hesitated, seeming to struggle with something. Then we're going to figure out who's targeting you and why, and we're going to end this threat permanently. How? By doing what I do best. His smile held no humor. By being scarier than anyone who might want to hurt you. By making it very clear that touching you means declaring war on me. And no one in this city is stupid enough to want that. He stood, pulling me up with him. Come on. You need to eat something. Mrs. Chen's made dinner, and if we don't show up, she'll hunt us both down. In the dining room, the table was set for two, crystal and silver gleaming under the chandelier's light. Mrs. Chen appeared with covered dishes, and if she knew about the revelation regarding my identity, her face showed nothing but her usual kindness. We ate in relative silence, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. But it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It felt almost domestic, almost normal, if you ignored the armed guards I could see patrolling outside the windows. Tell me about Tyler, Dante said finally. What's he like? I smiled despite everything. He's a good kid. Smart, funny. He got mixed up with the wrong crowd after our father died. Started running errands for some gang members in our neighborhood. He thought he was helping, bringing in money for us. My smile faded. He was arrested during a burglary. The other guys ran, but Tyler tried to help the homeowner's dog that was barking and got caught. He tried to help the dog? He's always loved animals. Even while committing a felony, he couldn't stand to see something scared. I shook my head. The judge went easy on him because it was his first offense, but still. Juvenile detention until he turns 18. Not anymore, Dante said. The facility I moved him to, it's not like prison. It's more like a school with security. He'll be able to finish his education, maybe even start college courses online. And when he's released, he'll have options. Because of you. Because of us. He reached across the table, taking my hand. Your brother's future is secure, Emma. I promise you that. Whatever happens with this threat, whatever we have to face, Tyler will be safe and he'll have every opportunity to build a real life. Tears burned my eyes again, but this time they were different. Not tears of fear or grief, but of gratitude and something deeper, something I was afraid to name. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank me by staying alive," he said with a slight smile, "and by trusting me to handle this." That night, I lay in bed unable to sleep, my mind spinning with everything that had happened. My identity revealed, my father's past exposed, Dante's unexpected understanding. It was too much to process. A soft knock made me sit up. "Come in." Dante entered, wearing just dark pajama pants, his chest bare and marked with more scars than I'd imagined. A roadmap of violence survived. He looked almost vulnerable in the dim light from my bedside lamp. "Can't sleep either?" I asked. "Too much on my mind." He moved to the bed, and I shifted over without being asked, making room. He slid under the covers beside me, and the heat of his body was immediately comforting. "Is this okay?" "Yes." I turned toward him, studying his face in the soft light. "Dante, what happens if you can't stop whoever's targeting me? What if keeping me here puts you in more danger?" "Then I handle it." His arm came around me, pulling me close until my head rested on his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. "That's what I do, Piccola. I handle threats. I eliminate problems, and anyone who wants to hurt you has just become the biggest problem in my world." I should have been scared by the coldness in his voice, by the casual way he talked about eliminating people, but instead, I felt safer than I'd ever felt in my life. "Stay with me tonight?" I whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." His lips found my hair. "Sleep, Emma. Tomorrow we start fighting back, but tonight, just sleep. I've got you." And surrounded by his warmth, his protection, his impossible promise to keep me safe despite every reason he shouldn't, I did. Tyler arrived the next afternoon, escorted by 3 of Dante's men, and looking both confused and wary. I met him in the foyer, and the moment he saw me, his face crumpled with relief. "Emma!" He crashed into me, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. At 16, he was already taller than me, all gangly limbs and nervous energy. "What's going on?" They said I was being transferred for my safety, but no one would tell me why. And then these guys showed up, and "It's okay," I soothed, running my hand through his dark hair so like our father's. "You're safe. I promise you're safe." "But where are we? This place is insane." His eyes took in the marble floors, the chandelier, the obvious wealth surrounding us. What did you do?" "She didn't do anything." Dante's voice came from the stairs, and I felt Tyler stiffen in my arms. "Your sister found herself in a dangerous situation, and I offered my protection to both of you." Tyler pulled back, his eyes narrowing as he looked between us. "And who the hell are you?" "Tyler, language, no, seriously. Who is this guy, and why are we in his house?" Tyler's protective instincts were showing, the same ones that had made him try to save a dog during a burglary. "Emma, are you okay? Did he hurt you? Are you being held here against your will?" Despite the gravity of the situation, I almost smiled. "I'm fine. Better than fine. Tyler, this is Dante Moretti. He's helping us." "Moretti." Tyler's face went pale. "As in the Moretti family? The Mafia?" "I see you pay attention to the news," Dante said dryly, descending the stairs with that predatory grace. "Yes, that Moretti family. And before you ask, no, I'm not holding your sister hostage. She's here because someone's targeting her, and this is the safest place she can be." "Targeting her? Why would anyone—" Understanding dawned on Tyler's face. "Oh God. It's about Dad, isn't it? About what he did." I nodded. "You know, I figured it out last year. Found some old documents he'd hidden, did some research online." Tyler's jaw clenched. "I know Dad testified against the mob. I know we were in witness protection. I know we're not really the Brooks family." His eyes found mine, swimming with guilt. "I never told you because I thought if you didn't know, you'd be safer." "Oh, Tyler." I pulled him close again. "We're both in this now. But Dante's going to help us. He's going to find out who's threatening us and stop them." "Why would he do that?" Tyler's voice was muffled against my shoulder. Why would a mob boss help the kids of the guy who betrayed his family? Because your father did the right thing, Dante said quietly. And because your sister means something to me. Which means you're under my protection too. Whether you like it or not. Tyler pulled back to stare at Dante. Then at me. And I saw the moment understanding clicked into place. Oh, wow. You two are... It's complicated, I said quickly. It's really not, Dante countered. I care about your sister. That's all you need to know. Tyler looked like he wanted to argue, to protect me from the dangerous man in the expensive suit, but something in Dante's expression must have convinced him. Instead, he just nodded slowly. Okay. But if you hurt her, you'll do what? Dante's smile held a hint of amusement. I appreciate the protective instinct, kid, but I'm not going to hurt her. That's a promise. Over the next few days, Tyler settled into the mansion with the adaptability of youth. He explored every room, befriended Mrs. Chen, and even cautiously warmed to Dante's men. Watching him relax, seeing him smile and joke like a normal teenager instead of a scared kid in detention, it made everything worth it. But beneath the surface calm, Dante was working. I saw him in his office at all hours. Phone calls conducted in rapid Italian, meetings with hard-faced men who came and went like shadows. He was hunting whoever had been watching me, and I could see the tension coiling tighter in his shoulders each day. On the 6th day, he came to find me in the garden where I was reading while Tyler splashed in the pool. One look at his face told me he'd found something. We need to talk, he said, privately. In his office, he spread photographs across the desk, surveillance shots of my apartment, of me leaving the diner, of Tyler at his detention center. My stomach turned. Who took these? I asked. A man named Viktor Sokolov, Russian. He was one of the key players in my uncle's trafficking operation. Dante's voice was flat, emotionless in the way I'd learned meant he was furious. Your father's testimony helped put him away for 15 years. He got out 6 months ago. And he wants revenge. He wants more than that. We intercepted communications. He's been planning to grab you and Tyler, use you to draw out anyone connected to your father's old FBI contacts. He thinks it's a way back into power, proving he's still dangerous. Fear turned my blood to ice. What do? We end it. Tonight. He looked up at me, and there was something cold and final in his eyes. Sokolov and his men are meeting at a warehouse in the industrial district. We're going to intercept them. We? My men and I? You stay here with Tyler where it's safe. And then what? You kill him? I should have been horrified. Should have been appalled. Instead, I just felt tired. Is that how this ends? That's how this ends. He moved around the desk, pulling me into his arms. I won't apologize for what I'm about to do, Emma. This man preys on the vulnerable. He ruins lives. The world is better without him in it. I pressed my face against his chest. Breathing in his familiar scent, I know. I know what you are, what you have to do. I hate that this is necessary. So do I. His lips found my hair, but it is necessary. And when it's done, you and Tyler will be safe. You can start building real lives, free from fear. What about us? The question came out smaller than I intended. When this is over, when Tyler and I are safe, what happens to us? He pulled back, cupping my face in his hands. What do you want to happen? I don't know, I admitted. This whole thing, it's been like a whirlwind. A week ago, I was nobody. Now I'm living in a mansion with a man who terrifies and captivates me, who's willing to kill to keep me safe. I don't know what's real anymore. This is real. He kissed me, soft and deep and full of promise. What I feel for you, that's real. The future I want to build with you, that's real. Everything else is just noise, a future. My heart hammered. Dante, we barely know each other. I know enough. I know I want to wake up next to you every morning. I know I want to watch you smile without fear in your eyes. I know I want to help Tyler become the man he's meant to be. I know that in a life full of darkness, you're the first real light I've found. His forehead pressed to mine. Stay with me, Emma. Not because you have to, Not because it's safe, but because you want to build something real with me. Tears slipped down my cheeks. You're asking me to choose you, to choose this life. I'm asking you to choose us. To take a chance on something that shouldn't work, but somehow does. His thumbs wiped away my tears. I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safe and boring. But I can promise you'll never be invisible again. You'll never be alone. You'll never have to fight the world by yourself. That's a big promise from a man who lives dangerously. Then let me prove it. He kissed me again, and this time there was desperation in it. A need that matched my own. Let me end this threat. Let me show you that I can give you the life you deserve. Okay, I whispered against his lips. Okay? Yes. I choose this. I choose you. The hours while Dante was gone were the longest of my life. I stayed with Tyler, watching movies we didn't really pay attention to, jumping at every sound. Mrs. Chen brought us food we couldn't eat, her presence calm and reassuring. He'll be fine, she said quietly, settling into a chair near us. Mr. Moretti is very good at what he does. He always comes home. How long have you worked for him? I asked. 10 years. Since shortly after he took over from his father. She smiled softly. I've watched him grow from an angry young man seeking revenge into someone who understands that real power comes from protecting the people who matter. You've been good for him, Miss Emma. I see it in his eyes. He's found something worth fighting for beyond just survival. Near midnight, I heard vehicles in the driveway. I ran to the window, Tyler right behind me, and watched as Dante emerged from the SUV. He was walking, unharmed, and relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled. He came straight to us, still wearing the dark clothes he'd left in, and pulled me into his arms without a word. It's done, I asked against his chest. It's done. Sokolov won't hurt anyone ever again. His organization is scattered. You're safe. I should have asked for details. Should have wanted to know exactly what had happened in that warehouse, but I didn't. Some things were better left in the darkness where they belonged. Thank you, I whispered. Always. He pulled back, his eyes finding Tyler. You too, kid. You're safe now. Free to actually be a teenager instead of looking over your shoulder. Tyler's eyes were shining. So what happens now? Do we go back to our old lives? No, Dante said firmly. Your old lives are over, but new ones are beginning. Better ones. He looked at me. If you want them. We want them, I said, and Tyler nodded beside me. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of what I now thought of as our bedroom, mine and Dante's, watching the sun set over the city. So much had changed. Tyler was thriving in a private school, talking about college and veterinary programs. I'd enrolled in university classes, studying business because Dante had suggested I might want to help manage the legitimate side of his empire. The legitimate side had grown considerably. Dante had been systematically cleaning up his operations, investing in legal businesses, creating something that could one day be completely legitimate. It would take years, maybe decades, but he was trying. For me. For us. I felt his arms wrap around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. What are you thinking about? He asked. How strange life is, how one moment in a diner changed everything. Do you regret it? There was vulnerability in his voice, something that only I ever got to hear. No. I turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd stolen my heart in the midst of chaos. Not for a second. You gave me everything I didn't know I needed. Safety, purpose, a future, a family. We gave each other those things, he corrected. You gave me a reason to be better, to build something beyond just power and fear. You gave me hope, Piccola. I kissed him, soft and sweet, tasting the future in it. I love you. I love you too. His arms tightened, my light in the darkness, my reason for everything. From inside, I heard Tyler yelling about something, probably his video game, and Mrs. Chen's patient response. Normal sounds, domestic sounds, the kind of sounds I'd never thought I'd have in my life. We should go in, I said. Mrs. Chen made your favorite for dinner. In a minute. He held me close, swaying slightly to music only he could hear. Just let me hold you a little longer. Let me remember this moment. You in my arms, safe and happy. Everything we fought for finally ours. And as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and purple, I let him hold me. Let myself feel the absolute certainty that I was exactly where I was meant to be, with the man who'd seen me when I was invisible, who'd protected me when I was vulnerable, who'd chosen me when he had every reason not to, my dangerous salvation, my impossible love, my home.